My husband covered for his cheating best friend, so I exposed him to his wife. She forgave him, but he cheated on her again, and my husband covered for him again. When I first started dating his husband, I found out that he was constantly covering for his cheater best friend, who I'll call Buttface. They went on regular week-long camping trips with the whole friend group, and Buttface was using these trips to claim he was in an open marriage and cheat on his wife this way. When I exposed Buttface to his wife, which I did in front of everyone, his wife tore him a new one and told him she was done. She was 7 months pregnant with their third kid at the time, and so I thought I did the right thing, but not in the eyes of my husband. He wasn't sure if we could get past this. I asked him if he really had a problem with me exposing his best friend for something so vile, and he said yes, because apparently I was sticking my nose where it didn't belong. I retorted that maybe if his best friend wasn't such a piece of crap, I wouldn't have to look out for his wife. My husband called me Mother Teresa and told me we should take a break, and so we did. Our break lasted about a week before he reached out to me asking to talk. The talk was long, and during it we came to the agreement that we would stay together, which was what I wanted, but only under the condition that Buttface remained in our lives as my husband's best friend. I agreed, and things were actually pretty good for a while. So good that within the next 2 years he proposed to me, and we were set to marry. During this time, Buttface somehow managed to convince his wife to forgive him and to still be with him, and so they were a couple once again. When our wedding preparations came around, Buttface ended up being a groomsman in our wedding. He caused some problems by suggesting to my husband we burn an effigy of me as part of the bachelor party celebration. My husband laughed and said that although this was a funny idea, he couldn't do that without me getting mad. I found out through another groomsman, and my husband and I had a huge fight about it. It was during this fight that I finally had enough and put my foot down. Buttface was out. My husband said, if Buttface isn't in the wedding, there will be no wedding. And I said, if Buttface pulls that stunt and you are sticking by him, damn right there will be no wedding. Well, after I said that, my husband became very petrified and did indeed tell Buttface he was not welcome at our wedding. But this was far from the end. You see, miserable marriages don't fix themselves, and Buttface's wife were in one. He knew it, but apparently she didn't. Somehow, Buttface found a new girlfriend, Lauren, and apparently this helped him not be a total jerk at home. And Buttface's wife, who didn't know about Lauren, truly seemed to believe the things they were doing to strengthen their marriage were working. I was not her friend, but there were occasional conversations, and she would periodically check in with me over the years, always with profuse thanks for my candor during that rough time when she was pregnant with their youngest. So you ask, how did I know about Lauren when his wife didn't? Because Buttface started bringing her around our friend circle and introducing her as his girlfriend. This time he didn't try to feed anyone the open marriage lie, he just casually expected his friends to entertain her because, hell, I have no idea why he thought they would go along with it, but the guys all did. Buttface was very careful to not bring Lauren around when I was there, but he blew it when he tried to introduce Lauren to my husband, who told me later he was in shock and didn't know what to do. So he left a little earlier than expected with a polite excuse and came home to discuss it with me. How do you handle it when someone you care about wants you to welcome his new secret girlfriend? I wanted Buttface cut out of our lives, but my husband had loyalty to him and didn't want to do that. They were brothers by choice and not blood. My husband and I had some major fights about it, because to me this was all kinds of wrong. My husband talked to Buttface without Lauren around, and found out Lauren was comfortable with him being married, had no concern about his kids. Buttface didn't necessarily want a divorce, as in his words he still loved his wife, and Buttface had no plans on revealing his secret girlfriend to his wife. Buttface genuinely wanted his friend circle to get to know Lauren because he thought she was just awesome. Hubby and I had some major fights about this. There was no way Lauren was coming to my home, and I wasn't going to socialize with either of them while they were together. This was the compromise. I would be civil if it was just Buttface, but if he brought Lauren anywhere, Hubby and I would leave, and that meant Hubby leaving too. The situation wasn't ideal in any fashion, but Buttface had managed to involve the rest of us in his marital drama, and now it was causing problems everywhere, as everyone ended up being forced to take some kind of side in the situation. Personally, I was ready to go thermonuclear on the whole lot of them, and one of the main reasons for this was the casualness with which Lauren was welcomed into the friend circle. This was extremely upsetting to me. In several cases, members of the friend circle were actively participating in providing Buttface with cover for his relationship with Lauren. One couple explained they liked Lauren better than Buttface's wife because she was more entertaining with better social skills. And I couldn't help but ask my husband the obvious question. If the friend circle were willing to lie and welcome Lauren for the sake of Buttface, would they be comfortable doing the same to me and my marriage? This question offended my husband. I would never behave like this, he stated, which would bring up some issues from our past and cause more fights between us, which made me more insecure and even more hostile to the people creating this situation. Lie down with dogs, get up with fleas, I said to him. Why hang out with people who think this is acceptable if you don't agree with it? And he would remind me of how Buttface had been a good friend for many years before all of this happened and was closer than blood as a brother by choice. Poison spreads. My stance on refusing to socialize with Buttface and Lauren was ridiculed by some and caused damage to other relationships. Even though I wasn't telling people who they could socialize with, I was just refusing to participate. I was being judgmental and prudish. And oddly enough, people who were okay with marital infidelity were not okay with me not being okay with it. Now, you may ask why I didn't pick up the phone and call Buttface's wife, and I believe I had good reason. My rationale was, she knew he had cheated on her in the past, she had stayed, and I had no interest in being the messenger who was going to tell her what was going on behind her back, but I wasn't going to participate in normalizing this relationship. It was a horrible, horrible horrible situation. It went on for months, and then, the wedding happened. And it was at the wedding that everything came crumbling onto Buttface. The couple who provided cover for Buttface to cheat on his wife with Laura got married. The bride-to-be and I had talked several times, and were friendly, but not close, mainly because I was distancing from her as she became closer to Lauren, but everyone was looking forward to the wedding. The wedding was beautiful. Buttface and Buttface's wife were there, along with their 3 children. I relaxed a bit because I assumed the cheating drama wasn't going to visit the wedding, but I was wrong. While the pictures were being taken, Buttface's wife and I were chatting. Buttface's wife explained the reception was adults only, so she was going to have to take the kids home because they couldn't afford a babysitter. We both looked around at the other young children who were still at the church, but assumed they weren't going to be at the reception. Buttface's wife and Buttface had discussed the fact he was going to be staying at the reception because of his close relationship with the groom. She was bummed because she was feeling very isolated and had been looking forward to an evening with adults, but she was putting a good face on it. Money was tight after all, especially with a husband in the bridal party. I got a very sick feeling in the pit of my stomach. They wouldn't, would they? Oh yes, they did. The reception began. Buttface's wife took their kids home, and Lauren stepped in as Buttface's date. I will never forget looking over and seeing Lauren sitting on Buttface's lap at the reception, and literally making out during reception. I will never forget how awful I felt, as I realized I was participating in the public humiliation of a very nice woman, and her 3 young children. I will never forget seeing members of the friend circle laughing with the 2 of them. I will never forget how my empathy kicked in, as I realized I was being made an accomplice to their lies. I briefly talked with my husband. He asked what I wanted to do. I asked him to wait a few minutes. I went up and took a dance with the groom, who was very happy and a little tipsy. I asked if he knew what was going on, and he smiled and said yes. They'd planned the reception to be child-free, so Buttface and Lauren could be together. I looked at the other children who were still there, and realized the bride and the groom were liars. You should be ashamed. You 2 have created some bad karma, I told him, and then I walked off the dance floor. I walked up to the bride, told her congratulations, and I hoped she was comfortable with the karma she was creating. I also told her she should be ashamed of what she had done. I did not create a scene. I spoke quietly but firmly. What they had done was wrong. We left. The saddest part was, I knew Buttface's wife considered these people friends. She had welcomed most of them into her home for almost 10 years when this wedding occurred. Her sons called several of them uncle, and yet the members of the friend circle had looked at her with barely concealed scorn and pity, while laughing with the woman her husband was cheating on her with, at a wedding reception, while she took their children home because she respected the bride and the groom's child-free reception request, all while they were plotting a special evening for Buttface and Lauren. My friendship with the bride and the groom never recovered. A few months after the wedding, Lauren got sick of being the side piece and demanded Buttface tell Buttface's wife. Buttface's wife handled it with more class than I probably would have. She actually asked him, if you wanted a divorce, why didn't you just say so? Truthfully, I think she was a bit relieved to know she hadn't been losing her mind when she kept being suspicious of his less and less believable lies. The 2 were divorced, and Buttface married Lauren pretty quickly. I didn't go to that wedding. My husband was invited. He made an appearance for the wedding but did not stay for the reception. There was no joy in the occasion for my husband, and while I do not remember it, I am confident my contempt for the situation was not something I was silent about at home. The relationship between hubby and Buttface wasn't the same as it had been in the olden days, and honestly, that was a relief. Time passed some more. A few years later, Buttface's new marriage was having issues. He kind of knew there were problems, but the big train of clue was when he walked into his home and discovered Lauren having intimacy with another man, in their bed. She explained her reasoning for cheating. Apparently he was not earning enough money to satisfy her, and it came out she had been cheating on him for a long time. Buttface was shocked and devastated. He then tried to talk it over with one of his best friends, his now ex-wife, bitterly bemoaning how Lauren could have hurt him like that by lying and cheating. And then he noticed the look on ex-Buttface's wife's face, and the bricks of reality fell upon his head. He apologized to her. He apologized with a sincerity that was long overdue. And then he called me to tell me he had apologized to her, and to apologize to me because now he finally got what a crappy thing he'd been doing. His ex-wife called me too, and shared the apology. It was a nice circle of closure, even though it was years after the original incidents. Buttface is on his 3rd marriage and seems to be an absolute piece of crap. He is by now in his 40s and his wife is 22. They've been married about 3 years now, and karma is real. I warned the bride and groom that covered for Buttface back in the day, and my prediction, unfortunately, came true. After 16 years of marriage and 1 beautiful child, the 2 experienced a period of financial difficulty. The groom took a job in another city for the income and joined a new friend circle. He met another woman, and his new friends liked his new girlfriend much better than the wife they never met. His teenage daughter came to visit, discovered the affair, and the marriage blew up. So, the bride in this story got to live with public humiliation and cheating and people liking someone else better than her, and not caring about her marriage, or her child, or the affects her spouse's infidelity would have on the family they created together. The divorce has been finalized, and now everyone just has to live with the aftershocks.